Hello, today we're going to talk about powers and exponents. Here is an exponent problem already worked out, and there are certain pieces of the problem that have certain names. For example, the exponent is the number indicating how many times the base should be multiplied. So the exponent in this problem is a 4. The base is the number that's being multiplied repeatedly. You can also think of it like the base is the big number at the bottom. And then we have the power. Now this is a little deceiving because it seems like the power should be 4, but really the power is a number that is expressed using an exponent. So the answer to an exponent problem is called the power. This table shows how to write and read powers with positive exponents. So we don't say 2, 1, we say 2 to the first power, or 2 to the second power, or 2 to the third power, etc. Any number except 0 raised to the 0 power is defined to be 0. So at the bottom here, anytime that you see a number that is raised to the 0 power, it always equals the whole number of 1. Notice on all of these, the answer is equal to 1. Now let's go ahead and practice writing some expressions using exponents. So you always want to be very careful to take a look at what is being repeated and how many times it's being repeated. On problem number 1, the base is 3 because that is what's being repeated. And how many times do you see it repeated? 4. So we say that 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is equal to 3 to the 4th. On number 2, we only have variables and no numbers, and so we're going to do this the same way. We're going to first look at the t's, and how many t's do we have? 3 of them. And then we can put a multiplication sign here and show that that t to the third power is being multiplied to s to the second power. Now, do you really have to have that multiplication sign in between? No, because any time that you have two variables right next to each other, it means multiply. So it's okay to say t to the third, s to the second. Now on number 3, if you notice, the -9 is in parentheses. It's very important that when you write your exponent that you also include parentheses. So it's not just -9 to the second power like this. It's actually -9 in parentheses to the second power. We're going to talk more about the difference between these two later, but for now, if you see the parentheses, then include them in your answer. Same thing with number 4. We have x plus 1 in parentheses repeated 3 times. So in our answer, we would put x plus 1 in parentheses. And then how many times do you see that being repeated? 3. Okay, now it's your turn. Go ahead and pause the video, write numbers 5 through 9 using exponents, and then play the video to check your answer. Okay, let's see how you did. So on number 5, we have 7 to the third power. On number 6, we have 9f to the third, g to the first. You don't have to put the 1 here, but if you did, that's okay. Number 7 is x to the third, y to the second. Number 8 is -4 in parentheses to the third power. And then number 9 is m minus 1 to the first, or since it's just to the first power, we could just write m minus 1. Okay, now let's move on to evaluating expressions. What I'd like you to do when you evaluate expressions is first expand the exponents, okay, expand the bases so that you have repeated multiplication, and then multiply all of your numbers together. So for example, on number 10, we have 10 to the third, which means 10 times 10 times 10. Now with multiplication, when you have it written out like this, you can multiply all of your numbers in any order. In this case, since it's just 10 times 10 times 10, that's equal to 1,000. But on number 11, if you notice, we have some different numbers in this one. We have a 2 times, and then we have 3 to the fourth, which would be 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Now here in this problem, you can multiply in any order. So for example, maybe you want to multiply the 3's first. Or instead, maybe you don't want to do it that way. Maybe you just want to multiply left to right. That's okay too, whatever works best for you. So now we have 2 times 81, and so that would be 162. Number 12, we have 2 to the 0 power times 10. Remember earlier in the lesson, anything to the 0 power is equal to the number 1. So on number 12, it's really just 1 times 10, which is 10. Okay, now remember that whole parentheses thing I was talking about earlier? This is where that becomes important. So on number 13, when you have an exponent, whatever is right underneath it, that's what's being raised to that power. So since the -2 is in parentheses in this problem, that's what's being raised to the 4th power. So what we want to do is we want to say expanded, this looks like -2 times -2 times -2 times -2. That would be +4 times +4, which equals 16. Now, here's the difference between that one and on number 14. On number 14, the only thing being raised to the 2nd power is the 6. That negative sign in front, you can think of like -1 times 6 to the 2nd power. This is very different because now when we multiply these, we end up with -36. So you do end up with a different sign if you use the parentheses versus if you don't. So it's important to pay attention to whether there are parentheses in the problem or if there aren't. Okay, now it's your turn. Go ahead and pause the video, expand all of your exponents, and go ahead and evaluate them. All right, let's see how you did. So in number 15, we have 5 times 5 times 5 times 5, which is 25, times 25, which is 625. Ooh, big number on that one. Number 16, we have 3 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. So when we multiply these, if we do them in, again, whatever order that you want to, we end up with 16 times 3, and that equals 48. All right, number 17, anything to the 0 power is equal to 1. So 1 times 20 is 20. Number 18, I see that I have parentheses here, so I'm taking -1 times -1 times -1 times -1 times -1. So we know there's definitely going to be a 1 in the answer. How many negative signs do I have? 5 of them. That means my answer is -1. Now on number 19, the only thing being raised to the 4th power is the 5. That negative sign in front, remember, means -1 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. So that's -625. Nice job, everybody.